Hello, everyone, and welcome to 2025. We are so excited to be with you here today. We're doing podcast 176, Cheryl.
It's good. 176. And I'm excited. It's a new year. It's a new beginning. It's a new. And I love that. I love that you can start out strong. Of course, finish strong, I think is important. But
Yeah.
I really believe that when you start out strong, it makes it a lot easier to finish strong. So I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So last week on the 6th, I think it was, January 6th, we did a podcast. We kind of laid out the land for the year and our podcast schedule and what we're going to be doing. And we mentioned that we would be going over emotional health first. So the whole 2025, we're basing on health. We want to help you get healthy, all 8 areas of your life.
Yep.
And Joe and I had a long discussion about, well, what do we really want to start with? And, because we're really into physical health. Obviously, we own the Institute of Holistic Health. We want to help people get healthy. So we should talk about physical health first. But really where it starts, Cheryl, is with emotional health.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So we've got this awesome thing. You guys have probably seen it. If not, take a look. It's the Holistic Health Wheel. And I love that because they're, like you said, Paul, all 8 areas of your life. And we have physical health as our first thing on the wheel, right? Because we really think that physical health is so important. But then as we were talking and as you were sharing a bunch of different things, that you've learned, that you believe, and kind of talking about it, really, we figured out that emotional health, which is not number 1 on the wheel, but if you don't have fantastic emotional health, and I think we're seeing this after everything that's happened, after, all the stuff that's going on, if you don't have that emotional health really strong, and when we say emotional health or the state you're in, it's how you're feeling, right? How you feel with everything that's going on, then you're never going to be able to really build those other things. You're not going to be able to get healthy. And we're going to just talk a little bit about that and about what's happening to people out there with some of these statistics. Paul, are just crazy. I mean, the statistics are crazy. But just thinking about being able to get that emotional state great, actually, then I think everything else kind of falls into place for you in every other area of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. We always say that everything is state dependent. When we mention the word state, so we live in a physical state where I live in New York, Cheryl lives in Virginia. So we're physically in a state, but there's an emotional home that we have. We call it the state. So state, again, just to be very, very clear, it's the emotion you're feeling plus the amount of energy you have. So you could be like the worst state would be super negative with low energy. So that's where we see people in mass depression, even suicidal. They're not high positive, high energy. It's low negative, and then positive, negative thoughts with low energy. People who start riots, they have high negative and high positive or high energy with negative thoughts.
Yeah.
We don't want that either. We want to stay on the positive side, but we want to have high energy. So we got to combine the two together. And when we say everything is state dependent, being a Tony Robbins trainer, when we do any event, we get people in the state first. Like Tony doesn't teach anything until you're in a peak state. When you're in a peak state, then you can learn well. People say,
what's a peak state? What's a peak state?
Peak state is a 10 on emotions. So my emotions are at a level 10. I have the best possible emotions. We'll get into what that looks like for you, and a 10 energy level. So when you combine those two things together, it's like a rock concert. I mean, everyone's jumping around, super high energy, super positive. And when you're in that state, you can learn. Like a lot of people, they'll be like, I do my personal growth every day, but I really don't feel like I'm learning anything. I'm like, well, what state are you in when you start? Because learning is state dependent. Everything is state dependent. So, we just had a conversation about going to the gym. Some people have willpower. They're like, I don't feel like going, but I'm going to go. And they get themselves to go. But they're always pushing throughout life. They're always trying to use this self-discipline where what we teach is state, get into a peak state. And then when you're in that peak state, you just want to crush things. You're going to the gym and you're not walking through the door, you're blowing through it. I mean, you're breaking the doors down to get into the gym. It's just a completely different attitude towards things in life, where it's not, you're not being pushed it out. You're the one pushing. You're the one that's dictating life. You're the one that's creating things. And you know, let's just go through it. So physical health, we're going to go through a ton of statistics here that if you're in a bad emotional place, it's going to affect your physical health tremendously. That's why we're putting this podcast together first. I mean, Mark, check off 176 as being a super important podcast for you to go back to throughout the year, because this is something we need to continue to listen to and get right. You know, mental health, you know, if you know, or you're struggling mentally, we're going to get, you know, very deep into this topic. You got to change your state first. There's no way you can change your mental health or your mindset. You know, we talk about getting your mind right. Well, let's get your emotions right first, because you'll never be able to get your mind right. You know, Cheryl, we deal with so many people. We help people write their story.
Yep.
And they're like, you know what? I can't do that. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know where to start and stuff. Well, it's because they're in this really horrible I'm an emotional state. Of course, you can't do anything and write the story, because you got to get into a peak state first, and then you can write an awesome story.
Right.
You know, spiritually, your career, if you're not in a peak state, you're not going to be able to create this amazing business. You know, business is hard. There's going to be all kinds of obstacles that are going to be thrown your way. But if you're in a peak state all the time, and you train, fire and wire your brain and emotional system and central nervous system to stay there, you can blow through these obstacles and get there. But you got to overcome obstacle after obstacle after obstacle and be in the kind of state that can handle that. Financially, relationships, and lifestyle too, Cheryl. All of it is state dependent.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting. I don't know as I've ever really looked at it like that, or like been able to say, oh, it's all about that. But, and I think the way I looked at it before is it's all about having a great attitude, right? No matter what it is. So it's having a great attitude. It's being like, yep, I'm here. I'm ready to go. I've got a great work ethic. And so the state, I guess that I was in was always quite good. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was always pretty good to move forward and to do the things that I want to do. But I think sometimes what happens is people get in this, like they start feeling depressed. Oh, and then we're going to go to the doctor, and the doctor's going to tell us, oh, you're depressed and you need to do this and you need to do that. And so it starts getting this hamster wheel where they can't get off. They don't know what to do. And I think I have been working, especially recently, with a lot of people that this is happening to, and to say, nope, that's not right, or nope, we need to look at it this way, and change the way we look at things. I think that's really what it is. It's changed the way that we're looking at things. And this story that you're talking about, Paul, I think is like one of the most important things that people can do, because it gives them something else to focus on, right? We're not just focused on what's happening to me now, what's happening in California, and what's happening here, and what's happening there. And oh my gosh, and I didn't think that was going to happen. And now that's happening. Now, oh, that's it. I have to just watch Netflix and eat chocolate. Right? I mean, right. And so, but just being able to realize that. And I think what it is too, is just knowing that there's a different way that we can do it that really does work. And, and that we can help people do that. And that just even that there is a different way, I think is going to be so fantastic for so many people.
Yeah. And this is something we get a choice. We're going to talk about this in this podcast today, but a lot of people be like, oh, well, this is easy for Cheryl to say. Cheryl's always in a great state. She's just born that way. Like, no, we work to fire and wire this way. You have a choice. You can decide, do I want to be depressed, or do I want to have super high positive energy? It's something you can train your central nervous system to do. I mean, this is why I love Tony Robbins so much, that he's the number one person in the world in history that trains people how to train their central nervous system to be he's cured. And I'm going to use the cure word on this podcast. You can send this to whoever you want, because I'm saying it right now, because Tony uses the same word, of depression, of massive problems, because he knows how to reprogram the central nervous system to get out of this victim storyhood and get them into a place where they're just on top of the world, and they could, again, run through a brick wall now. It's amazing. I've seen it happen to tens of thousands of people who are suicidal, completely changed after 4 days with it.
Yeah. Which is fantastic. I mean, that's just, to me, it's just, I don't know, just I think gives people hope, and I think that that's what we need, right?
Yeah,
That's one of the
absolutely.
things we really do need. So let's talk about the statistics, because this is a little alarming. This really is a little alarming to me, of, like really what is going on out there. And I don't even know, Paul. I think that these statistics might be a little bit even on the low side, really,
Yeah,
from what I've
they're
seen.
definitely
So
conservative. Yeah.
yeah. So one of the things so one of the statistics is over 40 million adults in America suffer from anxiety disorder.
Yeah. So it's like 20% of the population.
Yeah. And it's so like, so many people that have anxiety or depression or whatever it is. And so do I. And I don't think it seems like it's getting any better.
It's all self-inflicted.
Yeah, which
It's,
okay, now I know, right? Okay, so I know, but if you would tell me that back a while ago, before I understood like all of the other stuff and all of the other things that we're doing, then I wouldn't have really thought you were too cool of a guy,
right. I
right?
understand. I understand.
But the
I'm just
thing
here to tell
is,
the truth.
is if we don't tell the truth and we, okay, I'll use it, Paul, mollycoddle people, that that's a farm term, then it's not helpful for them, and it won't help them understand that there's another way, and that absolutely we can get better and be more and be who we're meant to be here on this
Yeah.
earth, right?
We're not here to
So,
hornswoggle you.
oh, horns. Don't do that. Okay, another statistic: nearly 1 in 5 American adults experience some form of mental health condition each year. 1 in 5.
Yeah,
Now,
I think it's about 4 and 5, but
well, yeah. And look, I cannot stress enough that when you tell a doctor or a psychiatrist or a psychologist or whatever it is that I have these issues, and they say, yes, you do, I think it's so much of a problem, because then you're validated for what you think you have
yep.
when really you don't. But I mean, it seems to me like it's just become a thing. Well, I've got depression, so I can't do it. And it's so interesting. I have to tell you a story because I just thought of this. So Angelica was telling my daughter was telling her voice coach something. This is a couple years ago when she was just starting out. I don't feel worthy, or I don't feel this way, or I don't feel that way, or something like this, like depression or anxiety or whatever. And our voice coach said, oh, well, what I really think, Angelica, is that people use these words as an excuse to not have to do the hard things that it takes to be who you were meant to be here on
Yeah.
this earth and help the people. And I was like, oh my gosh.
So cool.
But how many times does that happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do we think, does this happen, but we don't even realize it, because we know 75 other people that have the same thing, and we're all together and we're in a community, and so I just found that so fascinating, but it really kind of woke up my daughter, and she was like, oh, well, no, that's not why, right? For her,
Yeah.
that she just realized that. So I love that she said that.
It is. It's great, but it's just proof that our subconscious mind is like our worst enemy at times, because it knows us so well, and it
Right.
knows how to talk to us and what our
Oh,
strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and it can find ways to get you out of things that you should be doing, because it finds some kind of logical reason
yeah.
to not do it. And
You
one of it
say
is
talk to us, I say screw us, right? Because that's exactly what our subconscious mind is
a little
doing.
bit a little bit more subtle on my words, but yeah,
Oh,
it's there to
yeah.
screw us. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Another statistic: approximately 77% of Americans report regularly experiencing physical symptoms caused by stress. Paul, caused by stress, physical symptoms. Let me tell you, I have a dear friend, who just a little while ago, she's been going through some stressful stuff, like some really stressful things. like over the top stress, I understand, right? And had a stroke.
Yeah.
Stress induced stroke. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Oh,
Like
that's a real thing.
it, I mean, and I think that that doesn't happen to everybody, but I don't even think people understand the chaos and the things that stress is causing your body.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we're doing this podcast first. We didn't go into physical health. People are like, well, why didn't you just go into physical health? Why are you doing emotional health first? That makes no sense. We're telling you it does make sense, because no matter how many supplements we give you, whatever we tell you from this point on this year about your physical health, if we've got to conquer this first and get you into a different place emotionally, or you're screwed, as you put it so elegantly,
Yeah.
Cheryl.
Well, yeah.
You have no shot at your physical health being great if you don't master this emotional state thing.
And I just want to talk for 1 second about what we mean when we say stress, because I think when I hear the word stress, I think, well, so many things are going on and this and that. And no, we're talking about anything, especially like what's the number one cause of divorce in our country? That is probably everywhere, or probably in the world. That is financial stress. That's money, right?
Yeah.
That's financial stress. So all of these things, this stress that happens, and you guys, I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, and she was telling me that when she listened to, or when she heard about the fires in California, can't sleep, can't eat, can't function, because she feels for all of those people, and this stress is starting in her. And she said that she's just, ever since it happened, she can't even manage anything,
Life.
like her
Yeah.
life, anything.
Yeah.
So we've got to be really careful about what stresses we are letting in. And not only that, Paul, and I know what you're going to say. No, Cheryl, we need to think about the way we're thinking about it, which,
No,
change
I mean,
meaning.
the three key questions are: what are you focusing on? What does it mean to you? And what
Yeah.
emotion you're attaching to it? But the number one thing is, what are you focusing on? I
Yeah.
mean, if I turned on CNN and watched that day and night, I would
Oh,
be, it stands for constant negative news.
yeah.
I will be the most negative. Anyone who watches that nonstop will be negative. It's just what you're feeding your brain all day.
Right.
So, I feed my brain great things, great information all day long. So, of course, it's wiring in a different direction than that.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. And we do know for sure that 32% of Americans report feeling overwhelming stress in their daily lives.
Yeah, like super bad. And that's a third of Americans. That's crazy high number.
Yeah. And then they get on the drugs, and that's not good at all because it causes all sorts of other problems. And then it's like, again, that huge cycle. So I'm excited this year that we're really focusing on this first so that we can, and I'm excited to talk about some of the stuff that you can do to get out of this and to make this really for you to have that great emotional state.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to take some time right now, though, to just kind of like take inventory and find out where are we at right now. I love, like, okay, it's the beginning of the year, and we're going to do this throughout the year. This is something we're going to work on together as a community, raising this score up. So what we want to do is on a scale from 1 to 10, where's your emotional home? Now, I understand there's parties you go to and things, and your team wins the Super Bowl or whatever, you're on a 10. And I know there's going to be some things happening this year that are going to make you feel like you're at a 2. Those things don't count. What I'm saying is, where do you go back to Tuesday at 2:00? Thursday at 4:00, whatever. It's just, where do I go back to when everything's kind of neutral? Is it, hey, listen, I live at 10. I'm outstanding all the time. I got super positive energy. I'm super high energy. Like, is that where you live all the time? Or is it, excellent? You got excellent emotions and excellent energy. Or you something a little lower than that, where like, I think above average. Like, I see people walking around, and Cheryl has this great speech on YouTube. You gotta look it up. And it's a whole speech on the word fine. People are dropping F-bombs all day. F this, F that, F, our favorite speech of all time. And it's all, of course, she goes, of course, I'm talking about the word fine. So that's what you ask. People ask all the time, well, how you doing? I'm doing fine. Like, that's not me. I promise you, you walk up to me and just go ahead. You see me out in public, ask me how I'm doing. I'll tell you the same word every single time. And that's outstanding. Doing outstanding. People are like, wow, I never heard that. Anybody said it to me before. Like they're like so many people are completely taken back when I say that.
Right.
They're like, what? I remember I had like a hernia and I had to go into surgery. And that guy asked me to walk back. He's like, how you doing today? I'm doing outstanding. He's like, what? He's like, like, I've been doing this for 27 years and, I've never heard anyone
Nobody's
say
ever said that.
Yeah. So I got all the nurses and doctors around me. I'm giving a class before I'm going into surgery on how to get into peak state, So it was really cool. But yeah, I just lived there. I've wired, and trust me, I was not born there because I was one of those people who I'm just like following the crowd. I'm in the group. I'm good. But I was never one of those people like you are, Cheryl. Like, I talked to your mom, like, has she always been like this? There are people like that. She's like, yeah, she's always been like that. Like Cheryl's a nuclear energy plant of positive, just, it just flows out of her, all her pores. And everyone wants to be around Cheryl because she is so electric and so positive and is never negative. And it's just, you want to be around those kind of people. But some people have to work harder at this than others and fire and wire to get to that level. It took me a long time, but I got there. I can honestly say that my home isn't a 5 anymore. I'm not average. I'm not even above average. I'm, 8, 9, 10 all the time, at least. So, this is always a work in progress. You gotta, it's being, I don't know, Cheryl, this is your favorite word is awareness. Awareness is the key.
Yeah.
Like, where am I at right now? And what do I need to do to take it up a notch? Now, if you're at a 5 now, you're probably not going to jump to a 10 automatically as you're home. This is kind of like a process. So we want to, make yourself aware, just like say, listen, I'm probably 5. I mean, that's average. That's where everyone's at. That's the reason why we call it average. Maybe you feel like you're a little above, so give yourself a 6. But I would ask people. This is an interesting exercise to do here on a Monday. Go ahead and ask some of your family and friends. On a scale from 1 to 10, where do you think I am emotionally? Because you get that phone, the phone rings and it's got that person's name on it, and you always have a different reaction depending on whose name is on it. You're like, oh,
right.
And I don't want to take that call because you just don't know how that person's going to be today. They're going to be pissed, or you do know how they're going to be because they're always, angry and pissed off. So you just gotta you gotta ask other people because this can be a definite blindness place in people or blind spot, I should say, that you think that I'm always positive, yeah, and go ask your spouse. That's the best person to go ask about this because they'll be like, hell no, you're not at a 10. What are you talking about? So yeah, your friends are going to be your friends here, and it just listen. All we're looking for is the truth. We don't want to make things worse than they are or better than they are. Just the truth. It's all that matters. It's not just the result. If you don't like it, we'll change it. It's what we're here for. Cheryl and I are experts in helping people elevate their state. That's what we do. So if you're at a 5 now, don't worry about it. We'll get you to a 6, 7, 8, 9. And anybody can make that number go up. You just got to figure out where am I now, and we'll go through the steps on how to make it get better.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I like about this, Paul, is that it really doesn't have, this is all about you, right? It doesn't, and don't be thinking about, well, I'm fine until somebody does this to me or until this happens to me or until I have a really good friend. She cracks me up. She's like, look, I'm fantastic as long as I'm by myself. Okay. But if you have to throw a person into it or a kid into it, no. So don't tell me that it only has to do with me because I'm great on my own. I'm like, I agree with you. Oh my gosh, I love that.
That is the best ever.
Yeah. So, and I love this whole idea of asking someone. I'm not going to do that myself, but I like the idea. No, I'm just kidding. But it is a good idea just to kind of get, just to kind of get an idea. Right. Yeah. And maybe you think, I've seen a lot of people who think that they are much higher than other people see them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's great just to get that idea. You write down what you think, but then just like you can ask a couple people and just see what they think. And, it might be a little bit different. And that'll just give you, it'll just make you more aware.
Yeah. Let's talk about the emotions that most people feel, Cheryl. This is fascinating. Top 10 emotions people feel.
Oh, yeah. This is fascinating. So number 1 is stressed, which is
not a surprise.
No, that definitely is not a surprise. We've got overwhelm, which, Paul, I know you struggled with that years ago. It was like one of the things. And what is interesting to me is I mean, you've worked on yourself for I don't know, I think like 50 years now. And the interesting thing to me is you couldn't really pinpoint that until you really did some more deep work and some really finding out what
That's
it
why
was.
it's so important
Right?
to have a coach. You got to have
Yeah.
somebody you can communicate with. I mean, once I started working with Tony, my whole life changed because then, and it was the one-on-one interaction that, helped me see things, see the light. Cause it was a blind spot for me in
Yeah.
that this is what I'm doing. And it's all self-inflicted. That's what
Yeah.
really blew my mind away when he said that. I'm like, well, who makes up your schedule? Like, Paul, I thought you said you own your own business. Well, I do. Well, who makes up your schedule? I do. Who makes up your to-do list? I do. How many, who makes up your project list? Oh, I do. There's no outside forces at all controlling my life. Zero.
Yeah. I
It was
think that's
all
why
self-inflicted.
I don't ever feel overwhelmed, Paul. I don't have any of this. I'm just kidding.
I remember, calling a good friend of mine. I'd be like, this guy gets so much done. He's like 10 times more productive than I am. And I just don't understand why I'm so busy and I can't get anything done. And he's just taking over the whole world. Like so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to call him. I'm going to call him and ask him. So I call him. It says, the number you have reached has a voicemail that has not been set up yet. Goodbye. And I had my answer, it was like, he doesn't talk to anybody.
That's right. That's right.
I spend 15 hours on voicemails a day, returning calls, and no wonders I'm not getting anything done.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Okay, so we've already talked a little bit about stress, overwhelm. How about angry? Angry is
I see a little bit of that, Cheryl, out there.
Really? Yeah. Anxious. Anxious is so interesting to me. Yeah. Anxious, sadness. See that? Guilt. Guilt and shame. Those are like ones we really need to be aware of.
Yeah.
So bad. Fear. Fear is yikes. Fear is not a good one. Loneliness, disgust, and then of course, rage.
A little bit of that too.
It's all over, right? It really is. But the good news is, you get to choose. I don't know, Paul, if this is the good news or not, but it is the news, and it is good news that you get to choose how you feel. So
yeah, this is what's going to make this podcast a little controversial here.
Well, but like you said, Paul, I know it is, and I've struggled over the years of saying what I really think and what I really believe because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Sure.
I don't want anyone to feel bad. I don't, and you're like, okay, Cheryl, yeah, but
listen, I've been in counseling for 17 years, and I have a real problem.
But the bottom line is if we really want to help you, we have to tell you what the truth is so that you can become aware, so that you can do what it takes. It's not easy. I don't think it's easy at all. And I'm still in the middle of it, right? I mean, I'm still working on myself like crazy. And I think we do that, and we'll always do that. Everybody will. But I just think that if we don't say what the truth is, and that it really is your choice, then you can't ever fix it, right? You can always just blame someone else. And I think one of the most important things that I learned is that you have to take complete responsibility for your life, for everything you do, for who you are, and for everything as you move forward. And I love that whole idea of taking responsibility, because when you can do that, then you understand that you do get to choose how you feel.
Absolutely. But people want to base, it's genetics. Like it's not genetics. There's no genetic connection. And this is going to come as a shock, but it's not because of other people. Paul, you don't understand my husband. Okay.
Well, you don't understand the drivers out on the road, Paul.
You don't understand the drivers out on the road. Okay. I do understand them, but I'm telling you, it ain't them. It ain't the government.
No.
It's not your job. And it is not some sort of chemical imbalance.
Right.
You know, it goes back to that interview, the epic interview between Tom Cruise and Matt Lauer on the Today Show.
Woo!
We'll put a link down there to the video, or actually we'll put the video right in the notes. So you can go to elev8yourlife.com and request the notes, and you'll pull up the video here. If you haven't seen it, it's epic, you know, and this really lays out that we're not getting to the root cause of things. We're, you know, and this is going to be something we're going to talk about all year, because we're on a hardcore mission against Big Pharma. They are just these drugs. The number one prescribed drug in the United States is these antidepressant drugs, who they do not fix the root cause of the problem. And all they're doing is making you numb.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's
That is
all
true.
people who, if you drink, or if you do drugs, if you, whatever you're doing, it's always to numb the problem, not solve the problem. It's just a number. And then, the Prozacs and all those other drugs are doing the same exact thing. They're not fixing the problem. They're just trying to cover it up, and they're doing a real bad job at it. Most people on Prozac or any of these antidepressant drugs you interview them. They like, if they feel better just because they've numbed them a little bit, but it's not fixed. It hasn't fixed anything.
No, I completely agree with that. And I think sometimes too, Paul, people are waiting for something to happen. Well, if this happens, then I'll be happy. I'll never forget, you know, because I grew up without too much. And so, and just always struggling with where I was going in life, what I was going to do, all of these different things, right? So I understand. I've been there. I completely get it. And I used to say, hey, when I make $1 million, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
When I get a lot of money, I'm going to be happy. When I get that new Lexus I want, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
When I get a Gucci purse, I'm going to be happy. And I'll never forget when I realized that I had all these great things and money coming in and helping people and all of that. And I was like, but I'm not happy. Like, when am I going to get happy?
Yeah.
When am I going to feel like super happy? And so when I finally realized that there's nothing that will make me happy, right? It's happiness is the way.
Yeah.
It completely changed everything around, but I really struggled with that for quite a while, like realizing like, gosh, I thought all of these things would make me happy. And it's not things that make you happy.
No.
It's being happy inside yourself as you're journeying through life and doing all these things. And of course, it's nice to have nice things, right? It's nice to have some money to help other people. Absolutely. I completely agree. But that is not what brings lasting happiness and joy. You can be happy for a second. I'm like super happy if I get like a gift or get a present or, whatever. But how long does that last? And I love that idea that, how long does it last? And just realizing that. I try to tell my kids this all the time. If you think that money's going to make you happy, I just want you to get ready for the time when you realize that money does not make you happy, because you're going to be, like I was, more than likely quite devastated.
Yeah. Well, I think the real point here, Cheryl, is that you'll never have money until you're happy.
Right.
Because once you're happy and you're putting out those good vibes, the money just seems to flow in.
Right.
We know so much about manifestation, and yes, it's the vision board. It's knowing the things you want, but we know that the real secret to the vision boards is how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
It's that feeling. It's that emotion that you get from looking at the vision board that radiates throughout the universe and makes those things happen. If you're just looking at that vision board in a bad state, that vision board has zero chance of working.
Yeah.
Zero. So you got to have the emotion behind it. That is the key. So when I was 16, my mother took me to this Wayne Dyer, seminar, and he said this statement, and I'll never forget it. It's been, the cornerstone of my life ever since that there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. So whatever you want in life, you got to be happy, and then it'll start coming. It's like grateful. We talk about, you don't have anything great in your life is because you're not grateful for the things you have. As soon as you start being grateful for what you have, you're going to see the inflow of other things coming into your life as well.
Yeah.
So it all starts with the happiness, the gratitude. And when you get into a good place emotionally, everything else will start to fall into place. I promise you, these other 7 areas that we're going to go into are all going to click like this. Super easy.
Yeah.
You got to get this one thing right, though, which is your emotions.
Yeah. And you got to, and it's the emotions. And I love this, Paul, because I love now. I mean, we've talked so much about all the stuff that is happening and the way people are feeling and the bad ways and the statistics and all of those things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, come on. But now I'm excited. And like you just talked a little bit about, is about happiness and about being grateful. But these are the emotions that we want you to feel, right? And like you said, this gratitude, and you're like a big gratitude guy. I know that you've had a gratitude journal since you were 16, right?
Yeah, a long time. Yeah.
Like for so long.
Yeah.
But just the difference in your subconscious mind, or the difference in being grateful. And I know I've seen a lot about this lately. Certainly at the new year, you know what? It's time to be grateful. But you know, Thanksgiving is not the only day to be grateful, right? So it's like every single day. And I love that your subconscious mind will actually start searching for things to be grateful for, because you've decided, hey, I'm going to have this journal and I'm going to write down 3 or 4 things that I'm grateful for every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I want to take a minute here just to talk about these rules that we have in our brains. So some people are going to be like, well, none of this makes any sense. You guys are just talking, and this totally doesn't make any sense to me. So maybe this will help you a little bit. So like, am I just going to be happy for no reason like that? Like nothing's good happening. Why would I just be happy and fake it? That there has to be a reason to be happy. So this is kind of like my argument with Tony Robbins. I'm having a legit conversation with Tony Robbins, 2 of us. And I'm kind of like in that mindset where we're just going to fake it. And he's like, well, tell me this. What is your rule for feeling overwhelmed? What has to happen in order for you to feel overwhelmed? And I'm like, well, nothing. I just feel that way. And it was like, boom, like that 1 second. I'm like, oh, wow. You didn't even need to say another word. Because if you don't need a reason to feel overwhelmed, why would you need a reason to feel happy?
Right.
And I don't need a reason to feel overwhelmed. I just feel overwhelmed. That's just who I am. He's like, oh, isn't that interesting? So you can choose what automatically happens. That rule is there is no requirement for you to feel happy. I just feel happy.
Right.
Now, and then you want to do the opposite for the things you don't want to feel. In order for me to feel overwhelmed, I need to have, and you make it this. You make these rules up that are so complex that you're like, well, there's no way. And, hell has to freeze over before I feel overwhelmed. So yeah, when that happens, I'll feel overwhelmed. Like you have to come up with these crazy rules and make these rules up in your mind for it to make it impossible for you to feel these negative emotions. And super, super simple, like nothing has to happen. I mean, I love people like, well, what has to happen in order for you to feel grateful? Wake up in the morning. And that's the rule. You wake up, you feel grateful. Like that's a great rule to have in your life. So you'll always feel grateful because
because your brain is always looking for an answer, right? That's why.
It's setting up these rules. Yeah.
Yeah. So the rules that it's setting up are like, well, or you're setting up the rules though. So your brain, if you don't set them up, your brain just automatically sets it up.
Yep.
Okay, I see. So you have to set up your own rules. Like you just said, like, well, if I wake up, I'm going to be grateful. Yeah. So then when you wake up, you're grateful. Well, when I wake up, I'm going to be happy because I'm super excited about my day.
Exactly.
So you can make it yourself. And if not, then your brain will look for the answer and make up its own, which most of the time is not going to be as good for you as you making up and setting your own rules, yourself being aware of that. Because whether you're aware of it or not, your brain's doing it.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating to me because you're like, nope, I just, like you said, well, I'm just overwhelmed. Well, why? What has to happen? You're like, nothing. I just feel like that. So, but becoming aware, like, is what changes everything. So I love this idea of setting your own rules, to feel love and warmth, to feel joy, to feel peace, to feel energy, any of those things, right? You at 3 o'clock, that can be your thing. At 3 o'clock, I'm just energized. Because
Yeah.
at 3 o'clock, what happens? Oh,
Just who I am. Yep.
tired. I need to do this, right? So becoming just, and saying that, and I really like that, Paul. I love it when we say that's just who I am. You read a statement, that's just who I am.
Yeah.
Because it makes your subconscious mind and your mind that's aware,
Yeah.
both on the same page, which is what I think really does have to happen.
Absolutely. But what we have to do first is intentionally pick how we want to feel. Okay, Paul, you don't want to feel overwhelmed. Well, how do you want to feel? So I'm like, I don't know. Like, I have no idea. So you're probably out there right now. Okay, I got it. I shouldn't feel stressed, but what should I feel then? Like, I have no idea. So we don't put any thought into what the other alternatives could be. So let's give people a list of things, Cheryl, that they could possibly feel. Pick 3 things from this list. We love the number 3. And then let's focus on those 3 things, and we'll come up with a statement for you, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But what are some things people can choose from, Cheryl, as a word that describes how they feel emotionally?
Yep. So grateful, of course, is a great one. Love, joy, peace, energy, full of energy, happy, powerful. That's one of my favorite ones. Powerful, passionate, positive. And again, you guys can get these notes. And we have a whole list here for you guys to really just choose those 3. But positive, inspired, excited, extremely healthy. That would be a great one. Extremely fit. Whether you are or not right now, that's how you're going to, that's what you're going to say. That's how you're going to feel. How about certain? That's really good. Strong, confident, optimistic, determined, unstoppable. I feel that I am making progress in all 8 areas of my life. That would be a great way to feel. And then I feel that I am contributing to other people's lives. I elevate lives. That's another good statement. And then I feel successful and fulfilled, which we know is super important for every single person, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of like think about this. And like Cheryl said, go back to the notes, read over this list, and think of like, what are the 3 emotions that I want to make my home? And you got to make them your home, and that this is going to take a lot of practice. So what Cheryl and I do for 10 minutes a day is we have a statement about that we make a personal mantra over this. So for 10 minutes every single day, I say that I, Paul Croto, see, feel, and know. So I can see it in my mind. I look at the vision board. I can see myself, visuals of myself. I can feel it, and I know it. Like, I'm positive about this, that I am powerful, passionate, and positive. So those are my 3 words. I, Paul Croto, see, feel, and know that I am powerful, passionate, and positive. And we say this out loud, and Cheryl has her own, that for 10 minutes straight. And we don't just say it out loud. We scream it out loud. And we get our central nervous system to be rewired. And I promise you, you come up with a statement like that and say that for 10 minutes a day, really feeling it while you're saying it, you rewire your entire, not only your brain, but your entire central nervous system. And it's just fire and wire, just like Joe Dispenza teaches us. Over time, it becomes who you are. And I become I become passionate, and I become positive, because these are the words that I'm feeding my mind and feeling it in my central nervous system at the same time, which creates the real lasting change in people. And we've been able to rewire, anyone's central nervous system and an emotional state by just saying picking 3 words. And like some people pick grateful, just constantly saying, I see, feel, and know that I'm grateful, and then really feeling that, and maybe thinking of 3 or 4 things you're grateful for at that moment, while you're saying it, to make it real, so whatever words and it's got to be a feeling, that you really feel like, yeah, that's the word I want to use.
Yeah, it has to move you. I really believe it has to move you. You have to really, and here's the whole thing that I love. Even if you don't feel like it right now, this moment, how do you want to feel? Like, I want to feel strong. Maybe you're not strong right now, right? Maybe
Right.
in whatever's going on in your life, you don't feel strong. You feel like, I don't want to use the V word because I can't stand it, but the victim word. But let's say you feel like, you know what, I'm a victim, this happened to me, whatever. I want to be strong. I want to stand up. I want to be strong. Use that as your word. And another thing too is, once you feel that way and you become that person, you can pick 3 more words
Yeah.
that are fantastic, right? But just stick to those 3, like you're saying, Paul, that you really feel. And again, I want to stress, you don't have to be that right now. We're saying you're not that right now.
You're not
The
that right
3
now.
words
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
you want to feel and that you want to be, and make sure that those words move you, and then really, just if you do nothing else, promise yourself that you'll say those words for 10 minutes
Yeah.
every single day. And I just think, and I think that your whole year will be different. I really believe that.
Oh, absolutely. So the 3 quickest ways to change your state, to get, let's say you find yourself, you're aware, I'm at a 6. How do I get to a 7? How do I get to an 8? So movement is the key. It always starts with movement. Got to dance. Got to have a dance party in your kitchen. I have a trampoline I use, go for a walk. I have a walking pad that I use at my standing desk. So it's movement all the time. Keep on moving.
Yep.
Music. Cheryl's a music queen. She puts out a little Bruno Mars on and she's off.
That is
ripping the
true.
floor up.
That is true. I love music. And you guys pick a couple of songs that you love, that if you're starting to kind of feel down, you're like, oh, no, I'm going to just listen to your song.
Yeah.
Listen to your song. And I promise you, I've really found that really brings you back up. And you know what's weird, Paul, is like, I didn't used to listen to music at all. Like at all. Like I would never listen to it in the car. I don't know. I just never listened to it. And then of course I get some teenagers, and now it's like, for the last few years, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love music. And I mean, get some different genres of music too. Not just, but like, I mean, because jazz like makes me feel a certain way, like all of these different things. And so I'm super excited about that now, that music, and I use music as something to bring my emotional state up, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. So what? And then so we got the move, we got the music, and then we're also, again, that mantra was the third thing. So the 3 M's: the move, the music, the mantra. And I just went over it. I, Paul Croto, see, feel, and know that I am powerful, passionate, and positive. Change the focus. So whatever you're focusing on right now, you can see that focus is bringing your emotions down. So change your focus, change your life. So we say that all the time. And another thing to help the focus and help stay positive is community. Cheryl mentioned that before.
Oh.
We take great pride in this Elev8 Tribe. It's all about the tribe, and it's getting in. And there's more and more research coming out about this every single day, that who you hang around with is going to feed the emotions. It's going to feed the mental, the thoughts in your mind, and who you become ultimately. So you want to be in a group of people like the Elev8 Tribe. So you're not on your Facebook, get in that Elev8 Tribe group. It's just filled with thousands and thousands of super positive people that are all trying to elevate their life. These are the people you want to be around. And when you're around these high positive people, you can't help but becoming high positive, and your state changes instantly.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think we as people in general, we want to be part of a community. So if you're not in a good community, then you will, by default, I think, be in a community that may not be the best for you. So being in with people that are working towards the same thing you are, that are doing the things that we want to do, I really, really think is one of the ways that we can really make a change here in 2025, and getting in with the people who have the same goals and the same doing the same things that you're doing, which obviously for us is elevating our lives and helping you elevate yours. So Paul, it's been so much fun today. It's been like a real pleasure. I love talking about this. I'm passionate about really changing the state that I'm in, so that I'm able to help others. And we want you to really elevate your life too. So please just stay committed and stay consistent. And remember that you have the power to elevate your life and the lives of those around you. We can't wait to see you next time.